what are you trying to achieve? I think that's the core. Like, really focus. You're the business. You are wanting to achieve something. You have found out that there's an audience here, and like I think, and tell about yourself. Like, talk about what you're interested in and what you care about and what you stand for.
Welcome to Brands in Play, the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. I'm Nick Hill, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Sawhorse.
And I'm Albane Prioux, insights and partnership director at Geek.
This week on the show, Fortnite is sharing more data. Uber is going to start running ads in New York. Roblox announces a new IP licensing scheme, and we take a look at the smash hit game Grow a Garden on Roblox.
And next week, I'm going to be in Orlando for Unreal Fest. So I will be taking you along the ride with me for this episode. So don't forget to subscribe, review, and enjoy the conversation with #BrandsInPlay.
Let's go. All right, Albane, it's good to see you again. How was your week?
Yeah, it's been good. So I've came back from LA. It was so good to see you last week again. It's so nice, I think, to come back now. And actually, this in real life podcast should be a thing. So let's see if we can make it happen again. But I'm already off to Orlando. Sadly, not for Disney World, although I will do my very best to block a few hours to try to go.
There's a party happening at Disney World that
I know.
my coworker's going to, so you guys should link up and go to that.
Okay. So because I saw, so guys, so just for context, I'm going there for work with Geek. We are going there for Unreal Fest. A very strategical move to have Unreal Fest there due to their large partnership, with Disney World. So you do have discount, I think, if you want to go to Disney World as well as when you buy a ticket. I didn't know about the party, so I will definitely talk to your colleague, pick me up, because that sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be dope. I'm jealous. I've got major FOMO, but you guys go handle it. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with out there. So that's awesome.
And what did you get up to?
For me, I have a tough life. I had to go to Hawaii for a little mini vacation with my family, but it was fantastic.
I love that you can go on a mini vacation in Hawaii. Like if we want to go to an island, it's like 10 hours minimum.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can go to Spain, but Hawaii is so, exotic. So
5-hour flight, and it was not bad. And my daughter, who's almost 4 now, she flew perfectly. She was on her iPad. She hung out. It was cool. Every other time I've flown with her, it's been disastrous and problematic for my life. But she did such a great job, and so did my son. So easy to flight. And I got to say, I'm always talking about it, but I'm always wearing my Apple Vision Pro on these flights. Yeah, and I'm projecting massive movies. I feel like I'm in a huge movie theater. I also connected with my laptop, so I'm like working when I can and throwing massive screens up. And I would say it's the best use case for the Vision Pro, and the only use case that I use it for, pretty much.
Yeah, I think Charles is the same. Like we have a Apple Vision Pro in the office, and that's the use case. It's the fact that you can be surrounded by so much thing when you have like such little space, and it is a beautiful product, to be honest. So they've I'm excited to see more maybe of those hardware coming from them. I'm not sure actually if they could continue.
More cost-effective models coming out in the future.
Cost-effective is the word.
Definitely happening for sure. And the other thing I just want to big up the Sawhorse team for their release of the How to Train Your Dragon game on Roblox with our partners at NBCU that just launched earlier this week, and it's kind of blown up. It's got great performance, great engagement, and it looks amazing. So props to the team.
Like it's every week. Every week there's something and an award or something like that. This is so cool. And How to Train a Dragon, I am a huge fan of the IP. Like I love the anime. It was such it's a film now, right? They've done it into a film. I think I've seen
Yeah. So
LA.
What it was is they've made a series of animated films, and so this new one is a live action remake of the
That's right.
first animated film, which is almost a one-to-one replica. They didn't take a lot of creative liberties. They just kind of took that amazing story that resonated so well with fans, and they brought humans into it. And I've seen it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited to go see it because I love the original. And I think when I was in LA, I saw a lot of bus stop that had the dragon as well on top of it, or like big out of home. Like, so it kind of, it goes to show that, you know, Roblox is now being a part of like the 360 marketing, because they also did the traditional out of home, and I saw it when I was in LA, but they're now also on Roblox. So it just shows, like, it's really interesting to see how Roblox is just not, it's just another digital touch point that has to be done for those type of IPs.
Yeah, I mean, a good film marketing campaign has all touch points, and going inside of gaming, especially Roblox, is key. So busy week. There's tons of
Yeah,
news to get to, right?
yeah.
So let's jump.
Let's go to the news.
News. Okay, time for the news. My first story is all about how Uber is starting to run ads inside of their vehicles in New York. And so
Uh-huh.
this is part of an in-car ad network called Journey TV. It's coming in June. They're basically going to be putting tablets inside of cars that are going to be running ads, like 15-second spots to 90-second spots. It's a partnership with T-Mobile that's been ongoing. T-Mobile acquired a company called Octopus Interactive. They already have
Okay.
75,000 units in vehicles that are in other parts of the United States. And there's basically a law change that happened in New York last year that just allowed for this to happen. So you're starting to see a lot of these ads that are running inside of taxi cabs. Now it's coming also to Ubers. And what's interesting is that the revenue shares is kind of cool because 25% of all of the revenue that's coming in from the ads is going to the driver directly. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's
And
nice.
what's super cool about this one is basically you can control it. So you can turn the volume off or you can turn off the screen if you don't want it. But what's the most interesting is that these are targeted ads. So basically, it's taking all the user data that you have with your app. And so it's taking your persona information, it's taking your geolocator, so it knows where you're going and where you're coming from. And it also is linked up to Uber Eats, so it knows eating habits as well. So basically, it's forming
Well,
this persona for you, and then it's serving you ads based on where you're going and what you do with your life. So in theory, there's supposed to be more relevant things to you that hopefully drive more value.
uh-huh.
And what's interesting is that there were some studies done, and apparently, like, there's a 98% completion rate of watching the ads. Um, and then a lot of them are watching for over 2 minutes inside the cab. And I guess from a direct conversion, users are more likely to purchase those products that they saw. They're also saying that it's like additive to their experience, which I was kind of
Uh-huh.
shocked to hear. I don't know. I feel like you're
You
skeptical.
saw
What are
my
your
face.
thoughts? Yeah.
I'm not, well, because initially I was like, isn't this what cabs in the US have done for? I just have vivid memory of having that, like, being a kid and knowing that there was a TV in the cab was insane
Yeah.
already at the
I,
time.
I feel like
And I think,
there's a lot of cabs in New York that have this, and I'm
yeah,
often
it's
annoyed.
not a new
I think what's
model.
different, yeah, and that's not new, but what's different is taking all that personalized data and serving you ads that are relevant to you. It's
Yeah,
interactive too because,
it's
like, if you like an ad, you can click on it and it will send, like, a coupon to your phone where you can automatically start using.
I don't know, like, for example, when they say like the completion rate, it's like, obviously it's the same as like the ones, I'm sure the taxi ones have similar ratings. Like, it's playing in the background, you're not really paying attention. You probably like all, like, most of the time. I don't know, actually, this is more like a personal behavior, but I feel like I'm talking to the driver, or I've got my headphones on. I'm not really paying. I feel like this is a little bit like the completion rate. I just think is the fact that the video is like looping back or moving on, as opposed to actually measuring the attention and whether people are
Yeah, like, are they
watching.
actually looking at
I'll
it?
be exactly, like, I think I wonder what was the methodology. That's my inside part
Mhm,
coming
mhm.
back. Where
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what was the methodology actually to be able to identify, like, what were the actual attention points? Because I'm almost sure that it was just, oh, people just didn't skip or
On in the
didn't cut it
background.
off, and it's just on the background, and maybe the button is like muted and it's not bothering them. But yes, it's completed, but they're not
Yeah.
really paying attention.
I think
Um,
for my personal like behavior in cabs, like at first I don't care about them, I don't want them. But if I'm sitting in a cab and it's taking too long, I might actually start to look at the screen. And I've had completion rates of watching ads just because I'm so bored in the cab.
do you have
And
a phone to
I do,
just like?
but sometimes like I've been in a cab for a long time. I've already done my phone stuff. So I'm like, what is
Okay,
this? I'm now looking
yeah,
for
why not?
another
I
thing
mean,
to do. But here's what's interesting. There's already a level of interactivity. I would love to see more gamified marketing coming in that's interactive. Can you imagine from like an
exactly.
AR perspective? Like you're sitting in the cab, a Tetris type game pops up, and you can kind of move the pieces around, unlock coupon codes
That's
for
right.
restaurants that you're going to in transit. I mean,
That's right.
that's a great
I
opportunity
think
for
that
marketing.
would probably like I would have thought maybe something that would have been innovative is maybe a partnership with Unity that has some of the largest mobile games. Why not do something like that where you have like some of those selected games, then you have ads in between or like a I just feel like the model has been done before, and I was like, outside of the targeting, I was expecting for something a little bit more innovative coming from Uber, knowing that they
Yeah.
used to be, this innovative tech company, and now, well,
That's a great point. I mean, I do think the targeting is valuable, and I hope it's
it's
just a
interesting.
baby set.
Yeah,
I hope it's a baby step to a deeper, immersive, ad
maybe. Yeah.
targeted system that they roll out.
Okay.
I'll be cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
What do you got for me?
So a big news on Fortnite. So it's notorious that there's been, Roblox has always been a platform where a lot of data has been made publicly available, and I think
And
it's always
brands
been a
like
bit.
that, right? Because
That's right. And even when we think about the creator dashboard of Roblox provides developers a lot of insights that allows them to optimize their game and to make sure that they're on track with the sentiments of their community, what's working, what's not working, something that's also incredibly relevant for brands. And I think Fortnite was always a little bit behind on that side on the type of data that was shared publicly, but also on their creator dashboard. And that's completely changed now, where actually I would say they probably now have publicly available data that is surpassing what we have on Roblox. So they've made an announcement this week that they now have a API, again, super easy for platform like Geek to plug into. But now metrics are going to be made publicly available. It's minute plays, minute per user per player, the number of plays, which is a bit like visits, favorites, what has been recommended. So how many people are recommending your game? Peak CCU obviously is a big one, and one that we have on Roblox as well. Unique players, that is something that we don't have on Roblox, at least not like we do have it, but not publicly available. Retention D1 and retention D7. So here there's a lot of data that on other platform are private that are going to be made public on Fortnite. So what that means for developers is that they're going to be able to, Sawhorse is going to be able to benchmark their own experiences and their brand experiences against their competitors, and being able to leverage that to see, what's working, what type of content is currently getting traction. So this is really akin to what we see on social media, is opening up your ecosystem and providing more insights to your creators so they can essentially create better content. So I'm just incredibly excited by what Fortnite has done. And what that, what I mean for brands is that, there's two big things that happen, and we'll talk about it with Erik. But in the last 7 days, Fortnite is not only back on one of the biggest markets in the US on mobile, which we know with Roblox is where you get, the traction with a younger audience. So I'm already expecting that huge like their DAU is going to increase. And now there's a lot more data. So it's giving a signal as well to brands that, this is now a platform that they can start measure and um, generate insights to be able to get more engagement for and more return on investment, essentially. So I'm super excited, and I feel like even more that I'm going to Unreal Fest this week, because I feel like this is going to be incredibly celebratory, and I'm sure there's going to be even more announcements towards this. But this is two really big signals that Fortnite is really going to be a key player for this year and for brands.
I think that Fortnite is taking the necessary steps to become like an amazing UGC gaming platform.
Yeah.
They're baby steps, but it's all moving in the right direction. And I think data in
Baby
general.
step. It's a data API. It's more
Well, look,
than
they're
many
10 they're
platforms.
10, 15 years behind Roblox as far as UGC
There,
gaming, being that platform. So I'm seeing these incremental
getting
steps.
there.
They're baby steps that happen every single week. So that's significant. How about that? So
I feel like the train is in motion and is now
yes.
like not stopping, which is super exciting.
That's a great point. And I would say that data is crucially important not only for the developers to make better games and products, but also for the brands and the marketing teams
Absolutely.
because they need reporting. They need to understand who the audience is. They need to understand metrics. So it's I'm really happy to see that. I was also a little surprised to see that, knowing how Tim Sweeney is so protective of users' data. And I feel like those things are at odds. Like if you're gonna make a platform that's going to have ads and is going to kind of work with brands, you need it versus wanting to protect and keep it private. Some of those things are
Yeah.
going to start to merge at some point.
I mean, I sort of like I see your point, but I also think this is not a signal to show that there's going to be ads on the platform. It's more because at the moment the way that creators are generating revenue is through engagement. So I feel like all of those metrics are essentially here to support to support developers and brands to get more engagement and more payouts.
Yeah.
So I feel like and again when we think about the protection of user data, this is all pre-aggregated and there's no way of knowing where these people are from, who they are, what language they speak, what age they are, what gender, all of that is still private. So we still are very akin to social media data
Hmm.
on, number of followers, number of like, etc. So I feel like this is just more on par. I think where I'm really excited is there's still data that we have that are normally private, like unique players. That I think it's really interesting that they are making some of those data points available and I think it's yeah I'm a lot more positive and I feel like that does align with what Tim Sweeney is thinking for their platform while protecting their user data.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wouldn't push back on that. But yeah, definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So my next story is all about how Roblox has just announced the license manager and catalog, which is all about IP and how IP is leveraged on the platform. So this is a dev tool that's going to be launching in Q3, and it's essentially making it easier for both developers on the platform and also IP holders to kind of connect and work together and get IP onto the platform in a scalable way that is also safe and legal. Creators can go to this catalog, they can search a certain IP, and then they can request a license to use it inside of their games. And vice versa, IP holders can upload their IP to the platform and
Nice.
and they can go to certain games and say, I want to be in your game. This is what a license would look like. So I think it opens a lot of doors and it'll help kind of charge the ecosystem in a legal way that's fair and safe and proper. I feel like there's a big shockwave coming to the platform right now. There's a lot of devs that are afraid and nervous about their future and their game's future because notoriously there's a lot of content that is used illegally on the platform.
Mm,
It's like there's a lot of copyright infringement happening, so it's complicated. It's a UGC platform, so there's certain liberties that get taken. It's one of the reasons why it's as big as it is. I feel like you need to tread lightly on both sides. Both sides kind of need to be respected, but I do feel like there's a reckoning coming, and I do feel like it's a step in the right direction to doing this legally, which you can't break the law. You have to follow the laws in society, and I feel like we're moving toward that with this update.
yeah.
What do you
I
think?
I saw this, but I didn't deep dive into the full release. So am I right to think that it would allow essentially users to know what is the authentic IP and whether this is like an authentified IP? And then if a brand or if an experience with a developer wants to utilize, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an
Barbie.
example, but exactly, if you want to utilize the Barbie IP in your game, you would then have a process in which you have to buy that license to be able to
Yeah.
integrate it into it.
So instead of like, trying to figure out like who licenses Barbie IP from Mattel, who do I
Okay,
call? Like
you can do
that's
that
a very
directly on the
difficult, yeah.
platform. Yes.
So yeah, it's a place where you can go and say, "Oh wow, Mattel's here in this catalog." and be like, yeah, I want Barbie in my game. And then you take the steps, and then they say, look, here's what it's going to cost for the license. And then you say, great. And then it connects the two. And then for rev share, it automatically pays out properly. It's like,
Interesting.
it's,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
so
really.
it's a step in the right
I,
direction.
I think I think the only thing I would say about that, and maybe that would be my thought for brands, is that you have to have a middle ground where obviously maybe if it's your logo or if it's there's a few IPs that you want to have a normal licensing fee, but there's also an opportunity with those UGC platform where you don't want to put a limitation on earned content that you can get on the back of it. Meaning the same way as like you wouldn't stop creators to create like product review if it's positive about like, I think there's also something quite magical about how people can also just be part of the message because they
Yeah.
create more
That's the
games.
whole
Or
UGC social like
that's right. And I think I
amplification.
just don't want brands to completely feel like they have to like monitor everything and like hold it. I mean, that can be, I guess that can be your decision, but I just feel like you might miss an opportunity on like actually letting the community to with certain
Mhm.
part of your IP to explore and still make make games. So I think that's something that I would be cautious about, to not completely like, in French I would say, like taking the reins from the horse and like pulling back, because I think there might be a bit of a pushback on this.
100%. I think we need to track this story pretty closely because I think it's going to be controversial. There's going to be a lot of pros and cons and confusion. But like I said, I think it's a necessary evil, and we need solutions to solve these problems. This could be one of those solutions.
Yeah, for sure.
What else do you have?
So last story. Oh, I mean, I feel like everyone has been talking about it. I feel like we're a bit late to that story, but we had to talk about it, which is Grow Your Garden, which is one of the fastest growing game on Roblox. So, it's reached. So it is the fastest growing. So it's the game that reached 1 billion visits in less than 33 days, which is a breaking record. And it now, I just checked now, it has 3.6 billion visits to date. I want to remember like what was their highest CCU. I just checked this morning just now, but I don't feel like we're at their peak time. There's currently over 1 million people that are playing the game, but I know this is small compared compared
Wow.
to what they had. I think they were. I don't want to say the wrong data, but at some point their concurrent players was more than the top 5 games on Steam. So just to show like this game has been absolutely like has they've stolen so many, I guess, communities from other games, and probably brought a bit like Dress to Impress, but also
Hmm.
brought other people outside of Roblox into Roblox. So there's sometimes a bit of a misconception of like it's oversaturated Roblox and you can't really gain that kind of traction organically. And I think the reason why I'm so excited about Grow Garden is because aesthetically, you know, it's nothing like it's nothing special. Like it's not the most like beautiful game and the most complex mechanic, but they've done something that's really smart that hasn't been really leveraged before. But the game, why I think one of the reason why it gains so much traction is that when you are not on the game, things still continue to evolve. So to give you a bit of like for people that used to play Farmville on Facebook, or are Animal Crossing fans, it's kind of that it's a farming game. So essentially you buy seeds, you grow seeds. There's a timeline that needs to happen for those crops to grow. But what's really cool and what we haven't seen on Roblox on before as much is even when you're not inside the game, still things happen. So like the time still passes and your crops are still growing. And there's also an element of FOMO where the special seeds that are obviously generating you more money when you're selling them, that are sold but for very fraction of like a very short time. So I haven't seen that private data, but my assumption is that this is a game that has very short session time, but people are coming back like
Hmm.
very frequently to make sure that they're not missing on those special seeds. And this is why the number of visits as well are so high, is because of that high frequency.
Yeah.
Um,
Genius
I
game
have so
design.
many thoughts on this, but I'll stop talking first. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, from a high level, those numbers are staggering. Like, I think it's sending a signal to everybody across gaming. No, I don't care what angle you're in. Like, you have to pay attention to Grow a Garden, which is bizarre. but true. And I thought it was very interesting because this is a new game type. This isn't like a trusted game design type that you can leverage that we know performs on the platform. This is something brand new and different, and we're seeing it be super successful. So I think that's refreshing to know that you can come to this platform with an experience or a new type of game and still see a lot of success. You don't have to just make another Tycoon or another type
Yes.
that we understand. So this is proof of that, and I love it.
Congrats honestly to that team because this is massive.
Yeah, props to the Grow Garden team.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have them on the show at some point. That would be
Well,
awesome.
they're owned by Dubik, so I think we should definitely reach out to them.
Yep. So this week for Real Time Review, we're not going to be reviewing a game. We are actually going to do something special that I'm excited for. Albane, what are we doing?
So I'm in Orlando at Unreal Fest. So I will be taking you with me so that you can see the behind the scenes, some of the best keynotes that I've attended, and also some interviews with attendees that I'll meet on the day. So why don't we go to Orlando now? We are at Unreal Fest today, and I'm taking you with me for a sneak peek at everything that's been happening this week. We kick things off with the State of Unreal panel, and first off, just look at the space. It's absolutely massive. The energy is incredible, and I'm really excited because this is my very first Unreal Fest. As you can see, there's many different sections to explore, and I really can't wait to check them out. But first, let's go and deep dive into what Epic Games and their team has to share. Here are some of the key highlights from the keynote. First off, we got an exclusive look at the new Witcher. I'm a huge fan of the IP, so it was great to actually see the behind the scenes and how the game was made. So they've provided us with a demo that was all done on PS5 console. So I think this is something that was really insane in terms of the quality that you can get on console. And I really highly recommend watching the full segment. The resolution, the fluidity of the gameplay, it really is, I think, on another level. Specifically, the whole section, it was incredible. I just couldn't believe, I think, the quality again that you could get on a game, and specifically as well on a console. So I think for a lot of developers today, it was clearly a standout moment. And from a brand perspective, I was thinking, how could this be relevant for brands as well, outside of the IP partnership that you can do with these games? But I think this is exactly why Unreal Engine is so relevant in some ways to brands that are specifically for the product teams working on digitalizing their catalog and sales tools. It really shows how detailed and high fidelity the engine can be, and how far you can essentially push realism with that tool. The reason why we were here was to know more about Fortnite, and this is, the key element for brands is to understand where are the opportunities on Fortnite for the brands, specifically with the announcement around the new API that is going to be allowing brands and also developers to gain more insights on the engagement of the islands that are being built on the platform. So it was really exciting to first hear from Hannah Laurie, Director of Creator Relationship, who shared some incredible stats on the state of Fortnite creative.
And since the launch of UEFN, players have spent over 11.2 billion hours across more than 260,000 live creator-made games.
And we know the way that developers are being paid is through the engagements. And to date, there's been 722 million paid out to creators since UEFN launched. Then we heard from Zach Pearson, EVP of the Fortnite ecosystem. He took stage to dig deeper into the data API. This tool will let creators, developers, and most importantly brand, as we spoke about, track the engagement metrics across all Fortnite creative games, including Battle Royale. He also introduced a really exciting new tool, which is called the Epic Developer Assistant. So what that is a new AI-powered chatbot that helps generate verse code. So in short, it really is becoming easier to be able to test and build your game. And this is a big deal because not only now are developers able to generate more insights around what works on the platform, they are also able to build those games a lot faster.
And speaking of, in terms of engagement and also more things coming to developers on the platform, let's talk about IP partnerships. We already spoke about the partnership that Epic Game has with Paramount and the introduction of The Walking Dead on Fortnite. We got a bit more stats here with over 1,000 creators that launched Island just in the first 2 weeks that the IP has been released, so quite a success here. And so far, if we look at all of the IPs that are available, including Lego, there's 12,000 Island that has been created using licensed IP, which generated over 160 million hours of gameplay. And we had some announcement over the new IPs that would be coming onto the platform, and I think some of them are going to be really exciting. One that the community, at least in the crowd, there were a lot of applause and excitement around, was Avatar: The Last Airbender. This was one that there was a lot of cheers around. Then we had Squid Game with a partnership with Netflix, and incredibly exciting, their partnership with Disney. They are now allowing developers to create their own game with Star Wars IP. So this is really great, I think, for developers, because if we think again, the main revenue stream for them is an engagement payout. So if we're thinking about all of those things combined, there's tools now that are making it a bit easier to create islands and at least to test your game before you launch it. There's going to be insights that are going to be able to be provided to the developers by understanding what drives engagement on the platform. And there's now IPs that they can leverage in order to build games that are generating traction. So really exciting here. So that was kind of the wrap up for the keynote. And then I got to explore the rest of the event. There was a lot of new hands-on, you could test essentially the tech that Unreal has been working on, and I went straight into the MetaHuman booth. They talked about it at the keynote, and they had the influencer Blue showing the latest live streaming features, which was incredibly exciting. I'm honestly mind blown by the capability of this tech. I think there's so much that you can do as a brand to be able to leverage that, but also if you're thinking about virtual influencers and what they will be able to do with this. But what I've done is that I wanted to test it out for myself. So the MetaHuman new live streaming feature, you don't need a specific phone in order to do this.
Amazing. This is so cool.
This is incredibly exciting that you can now have this level of quality to create avatars. So I think there's a lot of things that brands can do. And then the other feature that they were showing was essentially a movie set. And I think we all remember the behind the scenes setup of Avatar and all of those different texts that were needed, motion captures that were needed to be able to record those kind of visuals. And now what's really interesting is that you are able live with this new technology to create environments incredibly quickly. Whether this is going to be, replacing CGI, and is Marvel going to shoot their next Spider-Man with this technology, I think we're too early to be able to do that, but it's definitely in the right direction.
Okay guys, you've heard all of the highlights from Unreal Fest today. Now I'm delighted to speak to Erik Londré so we can know more about what it is to build on this platform like Roblox, like Fortnite. So let's go to the interview.
Okay, we're excited to have Erik Londré on the podcast today. He's one of my colleagues and a competitor in the Roblox and Fortnite building space. A fantastic studio that he runs called Karta. We've competed against projects, we've won some, we've lost some, we've all made amazing work in the space, but he's a fantastic person. I really respect his work. And Erik, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And the respect is very much mutual. Yeah, the love so horse. Also, we can't just big each other up like this, I think, and not talk about geek as well.
Absolutely.
We've all
both of us.
We both love geek.
All work with geek.
I work with both of you guys, and the love is distributed and mutual.
Geek has the luxury of being neutral.
Neutral,
they kind of
exactly.
work
I
with
every
everybody.
developer, so I don't need to fight.
Someone has to be Switzerland. For sure.
Fair.
Perfect. I love this analogy. Geek is always Switzerland in those kind of conversation. But Erik, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I think you have an amazing background. So you were at head of events at Fnatic, and then you started and founded Karta. Can you tell us a little bit more about your what led you essentially to starting a creative and developing studio? And can you tell us a little bit more about the move from Fnatic to now owning your own development studio?
Absolutely. So yeah, as you said, I started off in my sort of career in gaming, working for Fnatic, which is one of the big eSports teams, where I was head of events. I was doing real world brand and fan experiences, expo booths, pop-up shops, parties all across the globe at these big eSports events. And I loved it. It was so much fun, basically doing what I do now, but in the real world. But I was doing that up until 2020 when something crazy happened. I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a pandemic, and real world events sort of weren't that easy to execute anymore. But I sort of started, scrambling to keep my job, and I remember that we had done like a branded Counter-Strike map back in 2017 with Fnatic. And I was like, we should do more of that. And I started looking into it because there were some other brands that were doing sort of, because in Counter-Strike, which is a shooting game, if people don't know it, not that brand safe, but it's incredible. 70 million monthly active players, I think. And to me, it's the best game of all time. But it basically, you can mod, you can create custom maps, and brands had done that. And there was a betting brand that had made a Counter-Strike map that had gotten 500,000 downloads. And I'm an events guy. 500,000 people visiting an event. I'm like, this is exciting. This is something that people are gonna want. And then I started, looking into this further. And at the time, 2020, Fortnite was at the, peak cultural senate and all these big concerts. And we had pro players in Fortnite. So I managed to convince one of our brand partners, Lavazza, the espresso brand, to make a branded Fortnite map. So this was in 2020. And I was the idea was not to put the logo in there because I thought Epic Games would sue us to bits if we put the Lavazza logo on inside this map. I thought we could make it coffee and Italy themed, like sort of be a little bit loose about it. And then, tell the brand story and, do the sort of more in your face marketing in the content. But my map makers that I was working with then, they were like, no, I think it's okay. We'll ask Epic. Epic came back, said, no, 100%, you can put the logos in there. And that was the sort of moment that changed my life, because I was like, if brands knew that they can be inside of the world's most popular video games, then every brand is going to want to be there, because brands need to be where their audience are hanging out, and this is where the audience is hanging out. And that weighed really heavy on me, because I was like, I have understood something of where the world is going before 99.9% of people. Are you gonna step up to the plate and do something about this? So I wasn't looking for an entrepreneurial journey. I wasn't but this realization and this future was just the most exciting thing I've ever come across. I basically started working on what became Karta, and then I discovered Roblox along the way, which was actually through my co-founder Tony Barnes, because I was more like, I started with Fortnite came from eSports. Fortnite was like an eSports title, and I met Tony Barnes, and I had worked on eSports stuff when he was still at Universal Music. He was like, "Oh, we're looking into making this Roblox game for this TikToker. Do you know anything about that?" And I'm like, I've looked into it a little bit, but and I started looking into it a bit more, and I was like, I found, what Roblox was doing as a platform was even more open, creatively, commercially, everything, so that was like the start of Karta, that vision of the future. And then shit escalated, and now we're 30 people and working with some of the world's biggest brands and music artists and sports rights holders.
Well, shit definitely did escalate, and I feel like, congratulations. You've done a lot of
Thank you so
amazing
much.
work. Um, and it's interesting that you started in more traditional AAA gaming like Counter-Strike, and then you've kind of moved into this UGC gaming side and had a lot of success there. I mean, what are the reasons why platforms like Roblox and Fortnite are sort of your locations of choice to activate?
I think it's very sort of, yeah, there's the scale, obviously, like, I mean, Roblox scale, I mean, what is it?
100 million. We're
Growing
gonna
at,
be at
Almost
100
100
million
yeah,
million
daily active
now.
users pretty soon.
100 million active users. One game on Roblox is having more players than 100 top Steam games. Like, so, and Fortnite also ginormous, right? And so yeah, so it's the scale, the amount of people, because that is important. Then I think the brand safety is which is, I come from Counter-Strike, which always struggled with the themes of AK-47s and terrorists versus counter-terrorists, bombs, etc. Blood splatter, not ideal, and mostly like if you're, crypto or betting or Monster Energy, like if a lot of brands won't want to play in worlds like that. So scale, brand safety, and I think the third bit is yeah, like that anything is literally possible, right? Like you can you can create any type of experience, any type of game. It's not just gameplay driven, it can be socially driven, it can be about virtual fashion. It's just so diverse, and I think Roblox especially is just the 3D internet. Like every big culture, every tiny subculture, and everything in between exists on that platform. And to me, that it's always what it's been about. Like youth culture and subculture has always been, what excites me the most. And there's just so much of it on Roblox and on Fortnite, but especially Roblox, I
Yeah.
would say.
No, and that's you're absolutely right. That's also why brands are going inside the space. And I think you were super early. I think I'm wondering, because you've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. What kind of what's that process like? So what kind of brief do you currently receive? Do you like, does Karta work with, like, are you used to having a full brief of creative, or do you also support, and can brands get in touch with Karta and then you help them throughout like the strategy as well? Like, what does this process essentially looks like when you're working with brands?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's the key word is that, or the key theme is that no project, no brand is the same, and we've been in processes where we start with not even a platform has been decided on, like which game we're gonna do, or complete from scratch. That's just a sort of general goal that we're looking to achieve, and we work from that goal and figure out, what should be done. But in other times we've worked with creative agencies that or gaming agencies that shows up with a 90 slide deck with their vision of a game,
Okay.
and we will have to say that's really interesting, but and this is really cool, but maybe we should do a little bit different that bit, and this won't work technologically, or this is against terms of service, etc. So like, and I think for us it's always, I have this like Venn diagram that I'm trying to like, get like my, every, it's always about like, yeah, the player, like circle one, the
Yeah.
audience, like how do we make something that's like really exciting, fun to engage with, interesting, etc. And two, the brand, how do we like get something that resonates, that deliver on their message, on their what they're trying to do as a business. And three, the practicalities of the platform
Yeah.
and the budget and the timeline, like, and then find something that hits that bullseye in the middle. And that's sort of the art and the skill, and also some of the most fun I think you have
Yeah.
is trying to figure that out.
Cracking the
But
codes.
it's not easy. Yeah, hitting the bullseye, and that's when it gets really exciting, when you achieve all three.
Yeah, and that's definitely a challenge. That's one thing I talk about and think about a lot is that almost every really good activation is very bespoke. So there's not like a roadmap you can follow or like a blueprint that's like repeatable. You know, it's like a really strong activation that's going to resonate deeply with audiences. You have to think outside the box. You guys do a great job at it. Um, I was curious, like, there's a lot of verticals that have activated in the space that are obvious, like the entertainment industry that has IP, or like fashion brands, because we have avatars that can easily wear clothing. It all makes sense. What are some of the other verticals that have reached out to you, non-traditional type of companies that are looking to activate in this
Yeah.
space?
I mean, we did. I mean, recently we did a financial literacy game with
Yes.
Elf Cosmetics, and Chime was the financial partner, which is like, I mean, as a marketer, as a creative, it's exciting to work with Nike or the coolest Adidas. We work with Adidas, very proud to do that. But it's also fun to have the challenge of try to make financial literacy cool and interesting. You sort of really have to dig deep and yeah, I think any vertical that has a reason to talk to young people should be there. And I also think in many ways it's like I think like if you're selling cleaning products, I think it's hard to market to Gen Z on other platforms. I think a really good cleaning game would be super popular.
Agree.
And it could even be as something stupid as like, oh yeah, this is a game where you need to clean the toilets, like that would probably do really well. Like there's almost, I feel like the platform, yeah, like lends itself to really to weird and wacky and fun. So yeah, like financial literacy, we had to figure out how do we make saving money fun. Yeah, like because like, oh, make an act, you do an you take an action, and then like 20 years later it sort of pays off. Like that's not very, you in gaming you want sort of you want to feel
Quick reward,
rewarded, right?
yes.
So we sort of had to solve that with with time travel and a sort of narrative based game over a whole lifetime, which was super fun. And also I got to do a sort of I always liked these Roblox native genres that are a little bit less popular, but like story games is a genre which is like a social like adventure, which has usually not that much gameplay. It's sort of more like a narrative that's being played out. They often have a little bit of like a horror, but a tongue-in-cheek style gameplay, and it's so different from any other game I've ever played before. And that's the sort of stuff you talked about, sort of, not staying in the box. I love when we get to do things that are a bit out there and also first first, on the platform type
Innovation
stuff.
first. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting is that we're seeing different types of brands that are now entering the space. And just to your point, Eric, I feel like I absolutely agree with you where Roblox does invite itself to so many different types of brands and different sectors. And I love your idea of a cleaning experience, because cleaning TikTok is a part of the world of the internet that I absolutely love. So I know it will do really well on Roblox. I think I'm still then curious with all of the different brands that you're talking to, and I think maybe also brands that are less familiar with the space. I think it's the tricky question is, what brands are still doing wrong, both on Roblox or on Fortnite. Maybe not projects, obviously. That's what do you think are brands currently not getting, or things that need the learning curve that they need to have when they are entering those spaces? What can go wrong as well when they're not doing so?
Many brands still think of Roblox as a kids platform, and then I'm talking sort of 5 to 8, because they have a niece or a kid themselves that is playing it and is very young. And I think that can skew your mindset to sort of do something that's very, you know, a bit childish, and which is also not a good idea because people, kids that are 11 years old love content that sort of feels like it's for 14-year-olds. So I think being overly childish in your approach and looking at the platform as a kiddie place, I think is a mistake, because also you're not going to reach them. It's all 13 up, you know. And then I also think that a lot of focus on very sort of clean, you know, and this I'm not. I think everybody comes in with the mindset that I'm going to make a game. And I think you can be a bit more open-minded. I think there's so many, you know, different ways of showing up. And yeah, even if you want to build an experience, it doesn't need to. It can have gamification, but it can have other functions. And I think we see that more and more with sort of more app-like experiences on Roblox, like Clip It for content, and there's I can't remember what the live streaming one is called, but sort of building a native Twitch for the platform. I think there's like yeah, so you as a brand can show up with a new type of utility for the platform, if that makes sense, and sort of. So I think have a really open mind, and you know, on what's the best place for you to be as a brand, and where you can provide the most value and tell the most interesting story. Yeah, I think those are the things that brands get wrong, or where you sort of end up. Well, you sometimes can feel like pigeonholed by the brand in the RFP process, that they're sort of pushing you very clearly towards one. I think show up in a more open-minded fashion.
That's a good point, because a lot of the RFPs that come through are not well informed, you know, from some of these brands that are starting for the very first time. To your point, Eric, it's like, we want to make a game. We really need to have this thing because my, you know, 8-year-old plays Roblox. He plays this one game and it needs to be like that. And the question really becomes, are you sure? Like, I don't know if that's the right approach. Like, you need to be working with experts like the people on this call that can help you figure out what to do. But what advice would you have for marketers who want to create a brief and then show up? Like, what type of homework do they need to do, or like, how should they be thinking about this space?
Oh, I mean, I think it's any brief is about any really strong brief. I think is about, you know, what are who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to communicate to them? What are you trying to achieve? I think that's the core. Like, really focus. You're the business. You wanted to achieve something. You have found out that there's an audience here, and like I think, and tell about yourself. Like, talk about what you're interested in, and what you care about, and what you stand for. I think it's more about that than telling us, like, I want to have a game on Roblox. No, but it's because I want to know about you, you know, and then I can
Yeah,
find where it overlaps, where that Venn diagram of audience, brand, and platform, where the bullseye is, you know.
that is the mistake I think they make. They think that they overthink it and then they try to solve it, and they come to you and be like, make this thing that I came up with. And it's like, just pump the brakes. Eric has a good point. Really just say, what are your goals? What does good look like? What do you want? Who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to say? What do you hope they do? That's all we need. Let us help figure out how to make those things happen, right?
Trust us, yeah, trust us.
And and Eric, I know that you've worked on some of the most amazing projects I think we've seen on the platform. Is there one in particular that you're super proud of that you want to shine spotlight on the podcast today?
I think it has to be the latest one, Eurovision. I know Nick and probably a lot of your listeners are
I loved it.
in the USA, but Eurovision is a big deal. It's the biggest broadcasting event that's not a non-sport broadcasting event. 180 million viewers. Like, I remember in Sweden, like, there's no cars on the streets, you know, like it's just the restaurants are all empty, the bars are empty, everyone's home watching Eurovision, and it's its own thing. It's very sort of camp and colorful and fantastic and fabulous, and it has a sort of the nicest version of nationalism, I think, in many ways. There's a lot of flag waving, and everybody wants to win, that their song from their country wins Eurovision, and it's just the most incredible IP. But it has a very, very interesting format of a cultural event at that scale, is that it's super short term. It happens, it's climactic in nature. It's like it takes over Europe and some Australia, I think, is big as well. But for like 2 weeks, all the free broadcasts is 1 week, but there's a build up. So we really like wanted to take that inspiration from that the nature of Eurovision, which is like it sort of comes out of nowhere and builds into this huge crescendo. So we actually had the world that we created started really like white and like a blank canvas, more or less. And then we added more and more colors, like as closer to the broadcast as we got to. And during the broadcast, we basically had it was like a live, it's like a second screen experience that you were watching Eurovision and hanging out with your friends in the Eurovision Roblox experience. And yeah, it was really, really cool and super ambitious. We were putting like live results from the broadcast into the experience as well, which is a new technology that the Roblox, before, if you wanted to change the world, you would have to sort of reset the servers. But now you can actually sort of change the world live as people are in the world. And I think that is also really exciting, from someone that comes from events, like a future, it was a lot about concerts and stuff in the early days of our industry, but they are hard to do and cost a lot. But I hope we get more and more of these sort of live experiences and shared experiences that happen in a moment and then are gone, because I think that's really powerful. And yeah, super proud of the team. And I think also to add, like, Eurovision is organized by a central organization, but also every national broadcaster.
Yeah.
So we had 9 clients in that project. I feel, Nick, if you thought having one client at one time can be a bit hard sometimes, having 9, and they're all entitled to their own opinions, and you're trying to navigate that. So I'm also very proud of my account management and partner team there as well. But it was a dream project for myself and for the whole team, because a lot of our team members are big fans as well. Super cool, and it did some good numbers as well. I think we had 22,000 concurrent players on a night, which is super cool. A little bit sad that we had to, we actually took it off sort of platform now, made it private, but hopefully we get to come back and do something next year as well.
Well, congrats on that. I definitely love when you take like very old sort of legacy IP or, content in general, and then you bring it into a super modern Roblox context. So I think you guys did an amazing job at that. And I think that's really awesome. I want to see more legacy brands lean in and see how to talk to the audience of tomorrow, which is awesome. Speaking of that, moving into the future here, what do you think is next for UGC gaming? Like, how do you see Roblox and Fortnite changing? Is there a new competitor coming? Are you watching trends like UGC creators, AI tools, persistent virtual spaces? Where are we going?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Not to put you on the spot, but what does the
yeah,
future hold, my dude?
Oh yeah. What does the future hold? Oh, I'm not sure. I have like a sort of a wide. I mean, I think obviously I know what I've hoped for. I hope that I think I think we're gonna continue to see the growth happen. I think Roblox, especially with their efforts in huge markets that are not that big yet, right? Like India, like Japan. I think Roblox is gonna continue to grow, and it's gonna continue to become more and more interesting for brands for many reasons. But I do I do think for Roblox specifically, I think more and more of these app-like experiences are really exciting. Like we talked about earlier, and I think that is gonna increase a lot. And then I think Fortnite is in an interesting space right now. I think they need to make some changes, and they're all new. They're pushing news and they're announcing things, but it sort of have felt a little bit like since sort of only up madness there, it has felt a bit like, oh, like we need some. And I hope, what I really hope for Fortnite is also more diversity in its experiences and the platform culture. I think that's what's still a struggle for that platform.
Agree.
Well put. Well, it's going to be exciting to see what you guys come up with at Karta in the future as you continue to build in the space on these platforms and other ones. But Erik, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really insightful conversation, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erik. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was awesome listening to Erik from Karta. What did you think?
I mean, I think it's just so fun the fact that he went from his career is really interesting, and I can understand his feeling of when you know something that hasn't started yet. So I can really understand like his entrepreneurial urge, sorry, to start Karta. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the Eurovision, so I'm also glad that this was his favorite project and that he was able to give a little bit more intel into it, because this is a they're really an amazing studio, and I think they've done amazingly with the Eurovision. And I do not envy the amount of clients that he had to manage at once, but they've done an amazing job.
Yeah, I think Karta does awesome work, and I really love their design thinking because I think that they're the kind of studio that looks at the Roblox platform as a really strong tool to build really deep, unique, engaging experiences that aren't just
Yeah,
games. They activate with different types of genres. They kind of are creative. I think Sawhorse shares a lot of the same type of out of the box
yeah.
thinking. So yeah, definitely appreciate them for that.
Should we move on to our favorite time of the episode, which is what's played out?
Yes, what is played out? This week for me, what's played out is not having Wi-Fi on airplanes and old school airplanes in general. Like when I
Yeah.
get on an airplane, I have certain expectations. I expect the UI to like not be built in 1990. I expect to have airport
Yeah.
or Wi-Fi that doesn't work well, but it's there, you know? And I expect maybe like a beer or a cocktail of some kind. Those are the things that I want to get out of my flight. But sometimes you get on these planes and it's like, oh man, this plane is like from 50 years ago. It has one giant screen that we're all supposed to share is so
Oh,
far away from me. I can't even see it. Like, yeah, so my flight when I went out to Hawaii, like it was one of those.
yeah,
No
share
Wi-Fi. And so I
TV.
was like, oh, I guess I can't work. So no, they had little
Oh,
screens,
okay.
with the controller that comes out and the controller's like from a Super NES style
Yeah, yeah,
controller. I
yeah.
have one of those also from a million years ago. But I don't know. That's just
I
me. Thoughts?
no, I mean I get it. Wi-Fi not on a plane, I think is Wi-Fi not on a plane is a big played out. Also, I feel like so I to come to LA, I took NOS, which is it's like EasyJet before long holds, and for 12-hour flights, they don't give you food. So I fully agree with you. I was like, how much is low cost, low cost? Like, come on. Get like
Right.
it's
Certain
12 hours. Like
expectations.
I don't think it's legal. Like you're starving me at this point.
I also was on another flight recently where I went into the overhead bin with my standard
Yeah.
luggage and it didn't fit. And I was like, hmm. I was like, this is the size that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
supposed
yeah.
how is it smaller? It can't get any smaller. Like, what is this?
No, it's yeah. Sometimes I agree with you. I think we need new planes, but I've got quite a similar one actually. So it's a bit less popular in LA, but you also have them. So Lime bikes, I don't know if they, but
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
UK they got bought by Uber, so it's Uber Lime bikes. My, my pain point is that at least in the UK they're very popular. So when you find one in the street, like you like they do move very quickly. Like it's a bit like dropping something free in front of your door. It goes like this. So when you have one and you go to, like you can walk about like 10 minutes for one of them. So I did that the other day, and people don't report when there's issues. So I walk 10 minutes thinking I'm already a bit late, so I need to take a bike so that I can beat traffic, and then the pedal is not there. So one of the pedal is missing, and it looks absolutely fine on the app as if like this is a functional bike. So I think my played out is that, one, I feel like those companies should, like, maybe I'm having a beef with Uber today. I feel like I'm not really happy with them. But today, like, I feel like they should be a bit better at servicing their own product, because this is horrible. Like I also had one where the brakes were not working, so that's super dangerous. Thank God I was not going super fast, but on a high speed, I could have like just gone into traffic. Then that one didn't have pedals, and I walked 10 minutes towards it for nothing. So my played out is that, one, people should actually report when there's issues, like there's an update for it. But two, Uber should fix this.
And a big thanks to Erik from Karta for coming on the show. And thanks everyone for listening. And please don't forget to subscribe and like. We love that. And that's a wrap on this week. Edward, please read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Co-hosted by Albane, Prioux, and Nick Hill. Our show today was produced by myself, Edward Regiu, with creative direction by Joey Jeda and Javed Kazmi, and audio engineering by Somran Kiyu, as well as a massive shout out to Joanna Pinto for additional editing. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization.